my name's Suzanne from Non-Stop Papercrafts. Welcome back to my craft room. So we are back for the next part of the Lapbook build that I am doing. So we have most of it done now. So we've obviously decorated the outside cover. When you open it up, we have a notepad to the left hand side. I've got a map here with my different victims on, and obviously a missing person as well. In the last video then, we were putting the bits together for this middle section. So I'll fill it up with all the ephemeron bits at the end, but we have a large sort of belly band slash tuck there. I haven't got anything on this side yet. I'm still thinking about what I want to put there. I've had a couple of ideas which I may work on at the end of this video, or perhaps in the next one. We've then got our 3 pockets here. This opens out again, and then we have our double page spread of each of our victims. They've all got their own sets of library cards where they've got the crime scene of where they were found, fingerprints on the back, a picture of the victim, and then we've got a typed up kind of info of their details, and then if you flip it out there's some journaling space, and that's the same for each of them. So that's the same there. And then once we close this back up, we can obviously open it out the other way. We have a tuck space here. This is magnetic, holding this closed. So this is just a paper envelope which could have stuff sitting in it, or can just be kind of left for journaling on because it's quite a light page. And then on this side there is a pocket here, and a pocket to the side, which again will all be filled up I think towards the end once the last piece has been done, which is this end here. So we've got our notepad where the detective would be making notes. We've got this side which is all about our victim. So this side I was thinking would be the kind of suspects or the murderers here. So that's the bit we're going to work on. I have already had a think about how I want the layout, and I've printed some of the pages, so I just want to show you some of these. I left these ones because I thought these were good for the suspects, because you've got police notice, you've got wanted, so I thought that's quite a good page for that. This one's got the newspaper print. No, it is different to that one actually. So this one's a newspaper, but again I quite liked this one because you've got the kind of handprints here. You've got the magnifying glass, which I quite liked, and obviously this was on one of the newspaper prints out. Oh yes, it's at the bottom here, but we can't see it because it's underneath there. But yeah, I really liked that. So we've got that one. I photocopied it a couple of times, but there is a reason for that, which I will get to when we start working on this bit. Here we've got the top hats, the magnifying glass, the pipe, some glasses, stopwatch, the kind of pointing finger, and that's in kind of like a greyish blue, which again goes quite nicely with this. And then you've got the same, the images are slightly enlarged. As you can see, I had a slight problem with my printer. It was printing too soon and then obviously left a bit at the bottom, but it's slightly zoomed in from this one, but it's the same sort of images on there. Again, ongoing printer problem. This has the fingerprints and a magnifying glass, and another one of those. It's because it misprinted, and what I want to use it for, which is why I've got 2 here, that wouldn't have worked because it's cut off the top, but I will talk about that later. But I thought this might come in handy for something else. So those are the papers. I have another of these cheap file folders, which is what I'm going to use for this side. So what I'm going to do is, obviously this will be cut down to size, and I kind of want to make it like pages. So this will be 1 page, this will be another, and then you'll have the back section here. So I've got to do 2 things. Obviously this is quite wide for this back piece. So the first layer, just like there's a step here, I want the first layer to be slightly shorter than the back layer, and I'm going to have to create a hinge to obviously attach this to this bit here as well. But yeah, so I want it to make it look like pages. So the first thing I'm going to do then is trim this down to size. So I'm just going to use my book as a guide, just like I have been doing on the other side. So I'm just feeling where the spine is. So again, we've got a slight gap. And then taking my pencil. So this first one, let's just have a look. So that's about 8.5. So I probably kind of want this one, thinking maybe at 6 inches. And then the back panel I'm probably going to want at 7 3/4. Oh, actually, maybe I'll just do it another inch. I might do it at 7, just so it's obvious and you know to turn the page. So I'll do that one at 7. Okay. So this one's at 6 inches, and then the back side will be at 7 inches, and so there'll be an inch gap in between. So I'm just going to trim that, and I also need the height. So again, I'm kind of following along where this blue edge is of the book, and then putting a marker up there. Okay, so I'm just going to trim that bit off there, and then obviously trim off these panels here, and then I'll start thinking about the papers and the other pockets and things that I need. Okay, so this is what we've got, and then obviously we've got our cut-offs here. One of these I will use as the hinge to hinge this back piece to here, but as you can see, when it's kind of in place, you've got an inch roughly between this one, and then once I've got the back piece, it will kind of match where the white is. So again, it's almost another inch. This bit might be slightly bigger, but that's okay. And then what I'm thinking of doing, so it's a good thing that this is slightly larger, because I'm going to have string tucked behind this that kind of comes out, and then I'm going to have one of these over here on the back of the back panel that's going to go here, and then that can tie that off, and that just holds this bit closed. I haven't had to do anything to hold all this closed, because this won't flap open, because it's the back piece. Obviously when you've got this sitting on the desk, this bit, as soon as I start opening it, you're going to have these two bits sort of flap over if they're not held closed. I hope that makes sense. Whereas this bit, because it's already laying flat, it's not going to be flapping about the place. But this bit, once these are sort of stuck on, if I was then to open, they'd kind of cover this back panel unless they were held closed, which is why I want to do a closure on this side. So I'm just going to have one of those like policy closure things over here, and then that will hold that. So the next thing I need to do is cut some papers down to fit this. So I want one for there, that side, and then obviously the back piece. Now with the back piece, I'm also going to make a shallow pocket, so it's going to have a slight gusset on it, and it's going to be sort of 2/3 of this size, and I'm going to tuck a small journal in there so that there is a journal space, but it is only going to be a thin one, because obviously this Lapbook has only got an inch spine, so it can't be anything too bulky. So I'm going to have a thin journal at the back in its own sort of expandable pocket, and then I'm thinking that I'm going to, on these wider parts in here, I'm thinking I want to put just a piece of paper that's just shy, so maybe 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch away from the edge, and then that's going to be a big pocket, and have the same on this side, so it's a big pocket. On this side I'm going to have, I'm thinking some stacked envelopes, and then on this side I'm going to have some slotted pockets to slot different things in. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. That may change as we start putting things together, but I think the first thing I'm going to do is just get my papers sorted, what papers I want where. So I'm going to open this up so I can have a look what's here. So I ideally don't want newspaper, because I've got newspaper here. So these were my options. So I'm thinking this is, the colour is very similar, so maybe not that one. Do we then maybe go for the blue? so it's a little bit different. The newspaper I want for the back panel, because I want to make, when I do the pocket that goes over the top of this back paper, I'm going to trim this down so that it almost lines up, so it's almost like a hidden pocket. So when you take the journal out, it still looks like one continuous piece of paper. I hope that makes sense. But that's what I want to do at the back. So I'm going to leave those two at the back. And obviously that's my spare one that I don't really need. So let's have a think. So I've got 4 sides and 4 pieces of paper. Which ones go best, do you think? So I think there's more of a contrast between these two, because these are quite brown. They kind of look the same, so I kind of want something that's a bit different. And obviously I don't want those two together. So let's do it this way around then. So I think I'm going to have this one out on the front then. I'm going to have this one inside here on this bit. I'm then going to have the magnifying glass one on the inside here, and then on the back side is where I'll have this one, because again, where it's darker and this one is lighter, that's a nicer contrast for me. So I think that's the order I'm going to have it in. So I'm just going to start measuring and trimming them down, and I'm just going to move this Lapbook out of the way for a moment. Okay. So just like I did on the other side, I'm just going to leave a teeny tiny border all the way along the edge. I will be sewing all of these as well. So I'm just making my marks so I know where I'm going to cut. So that's the first page. And then, oh, okay. Oh, it's okay. I still get the face. So I want the wanted part. And then about there. Okay, and then this one I actually want the magnifying side, so I'm going to use that white edge as a marker for the bottom. So that means at the top I need to trim it about there. And out there. Okay, then the last one. About there. And there. Okay, and then those ones I will need this bit for. So let's see. So actually width wise, this is perfect, so I don't need to trim anything off the width of it, so it is just the height. So I do want the header up there, I do like that. So just moving it up slightly, and then I think this side's probably going to be the easiest to mark. Let's move it over so I can actually see with the blue. So about there and about there. Okay. I will trim this second page in the same way as well, because as I said, they're going to kind of mirror, and then I'll just trim the second one down a little bit once I've made my pocket. So I'm just going to go and trim those bits then. Okay, so these are all of the pieces cut. What I'm going to do is go and sew around them. The only one that I am not going to sew is for the pocket. However, actually I might make the pocket first and then I can do all my sewing at once. Yeah, I'll do my pocket first. So, as I said, on the back here, I would like a pocket. Now I'm just checking, so it was about an 8 1/4, isn't it? Because it's the size of an A4 width. So if that's 8 1/4, how deep do I want my pocket? Maybe a 5-inch pocket. I want it slightly over halfway. So I might do a 5-inch pocket then. And for that I am just going to use another file folder just because it's easy and I've got tons of these and it was cheap. So obviously the height, I want it to be very similar to the height of this anyway. So let's move that again. Okay, so looking at the height of this, what I need to have is I need to have 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is just cut 5 inches in, not from the paper but from here, so I've got a 5-inch thin strip, and then I can figure out exactly the kind of winged parts on the edge that's going to give me my gusset. So I'm just going to do 5 inches off of here. So this, you may have noticed I did actually 5.5 inches because I thought what I could do is then have a slight tuck underneath as well as on the sides. So I'm just going to get my scoreboards then and do my scoring. Okay, so this is 5.5, so first thing I'm going to do is score at 5. Right, then I want to score it every 1/4 inch, and I want to do that, so I've got 4 pieces, I think that's 3 times, we'll just check. So 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1. Okay, so when we fold this, I'm just checking. Okay, that's what we want to create. So actually I didn't need that first one. That's what I want to create. Okay, so I'm just going to lay that out flat again. So from the 1 inch, we know the height is 8 1/4. I'm just going to check. Oh no, of course it's 11. Yep, of course it is. So then at 12 inches is where I'm going to score my next one. Obviously from 1 inch, add on 11 inches is 12. I'm now going to flip it over just because obviously I've run out of room. So if this is obviously the other side, I need to recreate this. So I need to do from that score line a 1/4 inch, another 1/4 inch, and then it was 1/2 inch. And then this bit I don't need, so I can cut that bit off. Hopefully that made sense. I'm really sorry if I just confused everybody there. But as I said in the very first video, this is a build along. I am just having a go. I have it semi-planned in my head, but that doesn't mean it's all going to work. Right, okay. So that's how the pocket is going to look. So as I said, it's just a small gusset. I didn't want anything too bulky because we only have a small spine for our lap book, and then obviously this bit's going to tuck under, so that means we need to get rid of some pieces here. So as we normally do with pockets, I am just going to slightly cut the edges at an angle. And then down here I'm going to do the same thing. So again, a slight angle from that score line, and then a slight angle there. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, and that is going to be the pocket. So just a 1/4 inch as your kind of M, and then a 1/2 inch so I'm able to stick it down, a 1/2 inch at the bottom, and the same on the other side. So a 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and then half. Right, let's get rid of the scoreboard. Okay, I hope you're still with me. I'm sorry if that was a little bit confusing. Right, so the next thing then is obviously on the back page of the lap book. Then this is going to be underneath, and then the idea is I want this piece then on top, so that when the notebook comes out that I'm doing the journal, this almost looks like then a continuous page. So obviously this is the perfect height because it was 11 and 11, so I just need to cut this in 5 inches because this is a 5-inch pocket, so this also needs to be 5 inches. So I'm just going to measure in 5 inches. And then that's where I now need to chop. So now that's my spare bit. Now I'm ready to start sewing. So I'm going to go and sew around all of my pieces, and then we can start building this last part and putting that bit together. So these are all my bits and pieces all sewn around now. So we're going to start putting it together. Another thing that I need to do though, let's get rid of that one, is I need to create my hinge so that this can obviously get stuck to the back of the book. So one of these are the correct length, so that's fine. So I am literally just going to fold this in half. It's easier to do it on my scoreboard though. And then that will be my hinge. So that bit's going to get stuck on there. This bit's going to get stuck underneath the base of what's going to go on there. So just very quickly, I'm just going to cut in again at an angle. Ever so slightly, not too much. Okay, and then I'm going to apply some glue. And then this on the back. then if we bring this in, we then want to attach this in here before we put our base bit down. We also want to have string behind here as well, so I'm going to do that now before I do anything else. So here's my string. Now I'm going to go wildly over only because I just want to make sure I've got plenty. I can always trim it down later. Okay, and then just going to use some masking tape to hold it in place. So I'm just roughly going for the middle and then popping that down, another bit just at the top to make sure that that is secure. Again, it doesn't matter that any of this is not neat because you are not going to see it. Okay, so this is going to get glued down, and then obviously when we do this part here, we'll create one of those policy closures, and then this will come and wrap around, and then that will just hold all of this shut so it doesn't fall open. Okay, so let's tuck that in there for now so that we can stick this back piece down. I'm going to put a lot of glue around the string because again I want to make sure that's obviously held in place. Okay, so that's that hinged on there. We've got our string ready. So now we can start gluing all the other pieces down. So I'm just trying to remember which way round we had it. So we had this one here, this one on the inside, this was on this side, wasn't it? This is on the back. And this was on this side. Yeah, okay, so right, this one, because obviously we've got this now hinged on, I haven't taken that into account, so I am actually going to have to trim the edge slightly. Now I didn't sew all the way around on this one because obviously our pocket's going on here, so that's not too much of a problem. So I'm just going to take a teeny tiny bit off of there because as you can see it's just slightly, ever so slightly too wide now. So I'm just going to take a little slither off. Okay, so that's better. I'm just checking that that still closes, yeah. And then obviously where we're going to have our pocket, I've sewn all the way around this one, and that will go on the end here. Actually, I wonder if I can tuck that in there. And then that, I mean, it's not perfect, but that's pretty much, unless you're really looking, and it's only this bit here where it's not really making sense, but you kind of have the header and it kind of looks like one whole newspaper. So that's how it's going to look. Obviously for this one, this pocket is going to need the closure. So I'm thinking I'm going to need to glue this on first, and I'm actually going to glue the pocket behind this bit so it's on there so that it wraps around. This is probably the most awkward way of doing it, but I'm just trying to neaten up the edges as much as I can. So I think I'm going to glue that bit first. So, okay, so that's going to go there, and I now need to figure out where. So if that goes down there, all of these in here, this is going to come across. So about here. Got a pencil buried under here somewhere. Too much stuff out. Okay, so that is where I'm going to need my circle punch. So I've already got one here actually that I might use. Yeah, I think I punched out too many when I was doing this one, so I'm going to create the same closure here. So just to reinforce that, because at the moment it's just on 160 GSM paper, so I'm just going to put some file folder behind that just to reinforce it. Okay, so this is just an inch, same as before. And then I'm just going to glue all of these together. Okay, while that dries, I am going to stick this on here, but I'm going to punch my hole first. Okay, so just using my poking tool, I'm going to punch the hole in here first, because this is obviously where I've made my mark. I know where my pin needs to go. And then when I glue this on top, at least from the back, I'll be able to obviously poke my hole back through and I'll know exactly where it's going. So this is going to get glued on here. Okay, so as I say, pretty much lined up. It's only this writing up here where it's slightly out, but not enough for me to worry about it. And I am running out of glue. Of course, I'm going to have to pop this up a little bit. I should have enough to get this panel on at least. Okay, so that's that bit on. Now I know where that is, I can poke that out without hopefully making myself bleed, because this is a very sharp one, this pokey tool. Awesome. Right, then next, that's had time to dry. I'm just going to give that a little ink. Okay, and here. Yep, so this is the same size brad as what I've got here, so that's what I'm going to put in this one. Again, I'm going to use my pokey tool. I have got my crocodile around here somewhere, but I think I'm just going to use this. Okay, that goes in there. There we go. Okay, and then just to stop anything catching that goes in here, I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape just to stick over it, and it will stop the journal that I'm going to be making just catching on that as it goes in. Okay, but obviously you're not going to see that. So that's going to go in there, that's going to get stuck on there, so that when all of this is closed, we now have somewhere for our string to wrap round. Awesome, so that's how it will look. Right, now to get the rest of the papers glued on, I am just going to quickly whiz off and fill up my little glue bottle. Otherwise all you'll see is me shaking it about trying to get the last little bits out. Okay, so this is where we are at the moment then. So we've got a tie here that holds this section closed, so that at least when obviously the book's closed and we're opening it up, it's not then flapping about all over the place. So that holds that closed. I have only glued down 3 sides, so I've got a nice big pocket there, and the same on the other side, nice big pocket there. I will still be adding things to the front of these, but we'll probably be doing that in the next video, because looking at the time, this is already a very long video. We've also got this space here and that space there. We've created the back page. My pocket is still gluing, so as soon as that's dry I will stick that down ready for the next video. So in the next one, all we're going to be doing is just finishing off these panels here, and then I'm going to build the journal that's going in here. As I say, it's going to be a very simple journal, a reasonably plain journal. I have printed off the journal pages already that I'm going to be using, and I will be mixing in some tea dyed papers, which is a job I've also got to do. And then we're going to put together a small journal to go in the back here, and then I think that's about it. Other than that, it is just putting all the ephemera into all of the pockets and envelopes and things that will be in here. So we are almost there. So let's have a look how this closes. Now obviously it is still a little bit bulky because I've got my clips in there, but that closes there, that goes there. Oh, it's looking quite good. It all closes nicely. Obviously I have got the bulk of the clips, which kind of will be the bulk of all the stuff that's in there. And then what I will do is have a piece of string wrap around here, and then I will just end up wrapping it all the way round and round again for the closure. But I am absolutely loving how this is coming along, and how the fact that it's nearly finished now. Well, thank you very much for bearing with me and keeping going. I do hope that you are crafting along, or at least enjoying watching this series and getting some ideas if you are to make a lapbook yourself. I'm so excited that we are coming to the end, and as I say, in the next video we will be finishing off this side, getting the journal done, and then it's just a case of getting all the ephemera ready and putting that all in here as well. Well, that's all from me today then. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful crafty day, and I will see you in the next video. See you later now. Bye bye.